History has a way of making the impossible seem ordinary. Thousands of years ago, people built structures we still struggle to explain, engineered technologies centuries ahead of their time, and created inventions so advanced they'd seem unbelievable if they were discovered today. These aren't legends or myths. They're real moments from human history that prove our ancient ancestors were far more capable than most people realize. Here are 12 ancient history facts that sound impossible but are completely true. Fact 1. The color purple was once worth more than gold. Today, purple is everywhere. But in the ancient world, wearing purple was one of the greatest displays of wealth imaginable. The famous dye, known today as Tyrian purple, came from tiny sea snails found along the Mediterranean coast. Extracting it was an astonishingly slow process. Thousands of snails were needed to produce even a small amount of dye, and the process created such a terrible smell that workshops were usually built well outside city walls. Because production was so difficult, the finished dye became extraordinarily valuable. In some periods of history, its value rivaled or even exceeded that of gold by weight. Only emperors, kings, and the wealthiest members of society could realistically afford clothing dyed entirely in purple. In parts of the Roman Empire, wearing certain shades of purple without permission could even be illegal. Imagine a world where the color of your clothing instantly revealed your place in society. For thousands of years, purple wasn't just a color, it was power itself. Fact 2. Ancient Romans heated their homes through the floor. When people imagine ancient Rome, they usually picture marble temples, gladiators, and crowded marketplaces. Central heating rarely comes to mind, yet wealthy Romans developed an ingenious heating system nearly 2,000 years ago. Known as the hypocaust, it worked by raising the floor slightly above the ground using hundreds of small stone pillars. A furnace outside the building produced hot air which flowed beneath the floor before traveling through hollow spaces inside the walls. The entire room gradually warmed from below. Stepping inside would have felt remarkably similar to walking on modern heated flooring. It's an extraordinary reminder that many comforts we consider modern actually have surprisingly ancient origins. Sometimes history is less about invention and more about rediscovery. Fact 3. Ancient Greece built a mechanical computer over 2,000 years ago. In 1901, sponge divers discovered the remains of an ancient shipwreck off the Greek island of Antikythera. Among the broken statues and cargo was a corroded lump of bronze that looked completely unremarkable. For decades, nobody realized what it truly was. As scientists began examining it with modern imaging technology, an astonishing discovery emerged. Hidden inside were dozens of precisely crafted bronze gears working together in an incredibly sophisticated mechanism. Today, it's known as the Antikythera Mechanism. The device could predict eclipses, track the movements of the sun and moon, and calculate astronomical cycles with remarkable accuracy. Nothing of comparable mechanical complexity would appear again for well over 1,000 years. We still don't fully understand how ancient engineers achieved something so advanced. Fact 4. Göbekli Tepe was built before Stonehenge and the pyramids. When archaeologists first uncovered Göbekli Tepe in southeastern Turkey, many couldn't believe what they were seeing. Massive stone pillars weighing several tons had been carefully carved and arranged into enormous circular structures. Researchers dated it. Göbekli Tepe was built roughly 11,000 years ago. That makes it thousands of years older than Stonehenge and more than twice as old as the Great Pyramid of Giza. Even more surprising, it appears to have been constructed before large-scale farming became widespread in the region. Göbekli Tepe suggests that people may have gathered together to build places of worship before they fully embraced agriculture. If that's true, it changes one of the oldest stories ever told about civilization itself. Fact 5. Some Roman concrete gets stronger as time passes. Modern concrete is incredibly strong, but after decades of exposure to water and weather, cracks eventually begin to appear. Roman concrete behaves differently. Many ancient Roman harbors have remained standing for nearly 2,000 years, despite constant exposure to seawater. Scientists studying these structures discovered something remarkable. Roman builders mixed volcanic ash with lime and seawater, creating a unique chemical reaction. Over time, seawater flowing through tiny cracks can trigger the formation of new minerals that help reinforce the concrete rather than simply weakening it. Researchers continue studying the material today, hoping it may inspire longer-lasting building techniques for the future. Fact 6. The Great Pyramid was the world's tallest structure for nearly 4,000 years. Think about the tallest building you've ever seen. Now imagine it remaining the tallest structure on Earth for nearly 4,000 years. That's exactly what happened with the Great Pyramid of Giza. Completed around 2560 BC, the pyramid originally stood at about 481 feet tall. Constructed from millions of limestone and granite blocks, it dominated the Egyptian skyline unlike anything the world had ever seen. Generation after generation was born, lived, and died beneath its shadow. It wasn't until the construction of Lincoln Cathedral in medieval England that another human-made structure finally surpassed it in height. It's one of history's greatest engineering achievements and a reminder that human ambition has always reached for the sky. Fact 7. The Library of Alexandria wasn't destroyed in a single day. Few places in history have become as legendary as the Library of Alexandria. It's often described as the greatest collection of knowledge the ancient world had ever assembled. Many people imagine a single catastrophic fire reducing the entire library to ashes overnight. The reality is far more complicated. Historians now believe the library likely suffered a series of disasters over several centuries. Wars, political instability, changing governments, neglect, and religious conflict all appear to have played a role. Julius Caesar's campaign in Alexandria may have damaged part of the collection. Later conflicts likely caused additional losses. Rather than disappearing in one dramatic event, the library slowly faded from history. That makes its story even more tragic. Fact 8. Viking sailors may have navigated using crystals. The Vikings sailed thousands of miles across some of the most dangerous waters on Earth. They reached Iceland, Greenland, and even North America centuries before Columbus. But one question has puzzled historians for generations. How did they navigate when the sun disappeared behind thick clouds? One intriguing possibility involves something known as a sunstone. Certain naturally occurring crystals can polarize light in a way that may help reveal the sun's position even when it's hidden. Researchers have demonstrated that this method can work under many conditions, and historical texts mention mysterious sunstones. If Viking sailors really relied on crystals to navigate the open ocean, it would sound less like medieval history and more like something from science fiction. Fact 9. Ancient Egyptians built working prosthetic toes. Modern prosthetic limbs rely on advanced engineering and medical science, so it might come as a surprise that ancient Egyptians were creating functional prosthetics nearly 3,000 years ago. Archaeologists discovered beautifully crafted artificial toes attached to ancient mummies. These weren't simply cosmetic additions. They were practical medical devices designed to help real people move more comfortably. Thousands of years before modern medicine, ancient craftsmen were already combining engineering with healthcare in surprisingly sophisticated ways. Fact 10. Pompeii preserved a Roman city almost exactly as it was. Mount Vesuvius erupted with devastating force. Within hours, nearby towns were buried beneath volcanic ash and debris. Among them was Pompeii. The disaster claimed thousands of lives, Yet it also created one of archaeology's greatest time capsules. Buildings remained standing, paintings survived on walls, food was left inside kitchens. Instead of imagining how Romans lived, you can often see it for yourself, frozen in time, waiting beneath volcanic ash for nearly 17 centuries before being rediscovered. Fact 11. The world's first recorded peace treaty was signed more than 3,000 years ago. History often focuses on wars, but one of humanity's greatest achievements happened after a war ended, around 1259 BC. The Egyptian Empire and the Hittite Empire agreed to formally end decades of conflict. The result became the earliest surviving international peace treaty known today. Rather than demanding total victory, both sides agreed to mutual defense, diplomatic cooperation, and the return of political refugees under agreed conditions. Copies of the treaty were carved into stone and written on clay tablets, so both civilizations possessed official records. A powerful reminder that diplomacy has ancient roots. Fact 12. Ancient Baghdad became the scientific capital of the world. More than 1,000 years ago, Baghdad was one of the greatest centers of knowledge on Earth. At its heart stood an extraordinary institution known as the House of Wisdom. Scholars from different cultures and religions gathered there to translate, preserve, and expand knowledge. Astronomers mapped the heavens. Mathematicians developed groundbreaking ideas. Doctors studied medicine. Engineers designed remarkable machines. Many discoveries made during this period would later influence the European Renaissance centuries afterward. For a remarkable period in history, Baghdad became the place where much of the world's knowledge came together. Ancient history is far more remarkable than most of us realize. Long before computers, electricity, or modern engineering, civilizations were solving problems, building monuments, and creating innovations that continue to amaze historians today. The more we uncover about the ancient world, the more impossible it begins to seem. If you enjoyed today's journey through history, be sure to subscribe to Facts to Fathom. There are still countless incredible stories waiting to be discovered. Until next time, stay curious.